Hey guys, it's cyoubx, and today I have a very special puzzle in front of me. I will be testing the Alpha 3F cube from speedcubeshop.com. I will go over an unboxing and give my first impressions, then review the puzzle after I've spent some time with it. First we'll take a look at the packaging. It looks like the package is in great condition. There's no rips or tears. Obviously there's a few creases, but that's because of mailing and not because of the service or anything like that. This is one of those bubble mailer packages, so I know that the cube is probably in pretty good condition. And on the reverse side it has my address and stuff like that. There's really nothing special though, it's just a package. So why don't we open this up and we'll go from there. Okay, what's this? There's a sheet of paper. Let's see what it says. Okay, it's a, oh wait, we'll put that aside. It's just a letter for me. It doesn't have to do with the cube, so, here, the business card for speedcubeshop.com. It's actually really cool. We'll set this aside, and let's see. Okay, the actual cube, and there's nothing else in there. Okay, so here's the actual cube. Taking a look at the box, it's a really nice box actually. Here you see the design of the actual cube. It's got really interesting center caps that I will go over later. And here it just gives sort of the history of alpha cubes. Yeah, let's see. It says Alpha Magic Cube 3x3x3, the creator, and Hyan's cube. Okay, so the box is in good condition. The cube looks pretty cool, and it's actually pretty hefty. I don't know if that's because of the box or not, but I guess we'll find out soon enough. Let's open this box up, if I can do that. Okay. Okay, so just looking at it right now, it's actually pretty light. I don't know. It's about the same as GuHong, I would say. The white is sort of an off-white color, which doesn't really matter. It's just something I noticed. Red and orange are quite different, which is good. And green and blue are also really different. Yeah, these pieces seem very interesting to me. And the stickers, yeah, they're definitely vinyl stickers. You probably already know that. So, first turns. I'm expecting this to feel like a Maru, but I don't really know. No, it definitely does not feel like a Maru at all. Well, that's weird. Okay, well, take a look at the colors again. As you can see, it's got good contrast all around, and the yellow has this imprinted, it's like a watermark on the sticker. Interesting. Huh, that's kind of cool. I don't know what that means for competition, because it does actually look like a logo. It looks like this logo. I don't know if that means that, I don't know. I mean, it's just a sticker, so I can just replace that. It's not a big deal. But that is pretty interesting, though. So first turns. It definitely does not feel like a Maru. It's clicky. and I don't know, it's weird. It's an interesting feel. I can't say it's bad, but I don't really know if I necessarily like it, to be honest. Let's just pop an edge. Okay, so this cube is supposedly unpoppable. I'll find that out eventually when I do solves on it, but yeah, so the piece, as you can see, seems to be, it's a very unique design. I will go over the internals in the review portion of this video. Right now this is just first impressions. Let's take a look at the corner quickly. Okay, yeah, this is definitely lubricated. And yeah, it's a corner. Yeah, it's an interesting feel. It's a very deep sound, and it is really clicky. Corner cutting, not too much. It's also really tight, so I'll have to tension that. And yeah, I mean, right now seems like a pretty good cube, but I'll have to play with it a while and get back to you guys. So why don't we just go over the pros and cons of this cube. The stickers are definitely a pro. The sticker quality is really good, and it's the same as the DaYan GuHong. If you don't like the colors on the GuHong, then this probably wouldn't be your favorite color scheme either, since they're identical. That being said, for me, I'm not very picky about colors. I'm actually okay with any color so long as the shades are similar. In fact, pink and red they mean the same thing to me, so I'm actually very open to colors, and they don't really affect me. So in my first impressions, you'll maybe notice that the turning was really rough. I was having a lot of difficulties with very simple and basic finger tricks, and it wasn't because I'm a terrible solver or anything like that. It's really because of two things. The first thing is that the cube itself was actually really rough. Clicky would be a complete understatement. The way I like to think about it is that it was sort of like two tectonic plates shifting against each other, and it was a crunchy sound, not a crispy sound. It was a sort of grotesque crunchy sound that I didn't like at all. The second thing was that I just wasn't really used to the cube, and wasn't really used to the tensions, so I was having a lot of trouble with corner cutting, clearly reverse corner cutting, since this cube can't do that, and so I was just having a lot of issues in general. 300 solves later, there's significant improvement. The turning is smooth and fast, and when I say smooth, you have to realize that it's not like a GuHong type of smooth, because this is definitely clicky. In fact, it's similar to an Alpha 5, but obviously the cube is completely different. But it does have it does have the same click. The other thing is that this cube is really loud, and in my first impressions, I noticed that right away, and so that's why I didn't really want to turn it too much, because I was talking over it. After so many solves, this cube has gotten a lot better, and overall it's like the perfect amount of clickiness. It actually does remind me of my Maru. It's a different feel, but the sound is actually pretty similar. I have not gotten a single pop, so the internal mechanism is definitely amazing. It really is unpoppable. I tried all different sorts of things, extreme reverse corner cuts, extreme corner cutting, and stuff like that. It just doesn't pop. One of the reasons it doesn't pop is because it's not as fast as a GuHong. I know I said that this cube is fast, but in all reality, the GuHong is just so much faster, the F2 is so much faster, even the Maru is faster. This is still a fast cube, but it doesn't really compare. And because it is slower, it's not as prone to pops. I find that the edge pieces actually do latch onto the center pieces sometimes, which actually causes it to slow down a little bit. And that's actually why it doesn't pop. And the other thing is, if you do want to go fast, then it locks up. And so, if it locks up, then you're really not going to get a pop. In my experience, pops usually happen when you don't expect them to. So right now, I'm going to go into macro and show you the internals as well as the mechanism. So as you can see, we have single tabs on the edge piece, and there is a thin bar in the middle which supports this together. There are edge caps on the outside of the cube. In my experience, they haven't fallen out, but I have seen other videos where they do sometimes pop out. If that's a recurring issue, all you have to do is you have to get a piece of paper the same size as the edge piece and put it into the gap and just smash the cap back in, and that should make it fit. To show you the actual effect of this piece, it's easiest to just compare it to a regular DIY piece. This is a Maru piece, which is the same as a Rubik store-bought, and as you can see, they're actually really similar, but it is noticeable that this piece is just a little bit taller and a little bit wider, obviously, so that's actually what causes it to pop less, and it also causes lockups because this is so sharp at the edge, and also because it is longer, what you will notice when you get this cube is that this will actually touch the core, which causes it to grind a little bit, causing it to slow down. So this pops more, but this locks up more, so pick your poison, I guess. The corners are also fairly special. It is just a triangular base, there's no stock. It is actually more or less the same thing as a regular Rubik's brand, or in this case a Maru. It's the same structure. What they did was they just hollowed the inside out to make it lighter, and even though this is hollow, this is more 2 panels of plastic, which makes it heavier. Overall, this cube is extremely light, and that's that. So the core is a yellow core, as you can see there, and here you see the notches to get the center caps out. So to get the center cap off, all you have to do is put the screwdriver firmly against the center cap, and you have to just work your way you have to use a lot of force, but you basically push against it and pry upwards. You will damage your piece, I guarantee it, but it's minimal damage, and you only have to do this once. Of course, here, this would be the second time since I'm showing you guys. So I am working around, and as you can see, it is popping out, and you just keep doing it until the entire piece comes off. So here, you can see very standard alpha screw and spring set, and that's that. So there are holes at the bottom, don't really know what they do. Doesn't really matter though, I guess. The holes though, this is interesting because now you can actually see how the pieces work. If you really want to get the center caps off, what you can do is you can actually take apart the entire cube and you can just poke the center cap out from the bottom with a very tiny screwdriver. That'll definitely work. However, you do risk the chance of actually snapping off one of the edge pieces. So the actual center cap is here. It's basically just a piece of plastic, very, very square, no notches, nothing. And you can see some of the damage that I've done to it. It's a little bit of scarring, and in the end it's all worth it. Popping it in, it's just like any other center cap. So that's sort of how this cube works. You can take a gander at the logo again. It is pretty nice, pretty cool looking, I guess. And here, it's hard to tell, it's hard to see, but there is sort of a watermark here, and it's actually the logo, but it's imprinted into the plastic. So here you can see lubricant stains, and this is actually right now this is shock oil. Mine came with cyoubx. I don't know if all of them do. On the site, speedcubeshop.com, it doesn't say that it comes with cyoubx in it, but I'm pretty sure that mine did. Overall, don't worry about it if yours doesn't, because to be perfectly honest, didn't make a huge difference. I lubricated it again the day after with Maru lube, which actually had no effect at all, just because this cube was so tight. So Maru lube didn't work. Finally I used shock oil, which actually did give it a really good feel. Before it was sort of crunchy, and the shock oil made it gummier, which in turn made it crispier instead of crunchier. So that was definitely a good idea. I do recommend using shock oil in general, and for this cube it seems like it works really, really well. So here, finally, let's just take a look at the centerpiece itself. You can see that it is really, really thick, and there is this track here to decrease friction, which is definitely a plus because this cube does actually have a lot of friction. And the interesting thing is that there's no contact whatsoever with the core. You can't really see it, but just take my word for it. The pieces don't really touch the core except for the edge right here, which gets snagged onto the edge of the core from time to time. So because it doesn't touch the core, this cube is extremely hollow and it's extremely light. So if you like a light cube, this is for you. So now that you know a bit about the internals, we might as well go over pops on this cube. I have done roughly 300 solves and I've not come close to a single pop. So it definitely does what it's supposed to, but it does suffer because of that. One of the reasons it doesn't pop as much is because this cube isn't actually as fast as any of the other cubes. The GuHong is obviously a lot faster, but even the Maru is a lot faster than the Alpha 3F. So it does lack in speed a little bit, but it does make up in other areas, which I will go over later. The corner cutting is a lot like older DIYs, which would be line to line, or yeah. What I did notice though is that even though it can cut line to line, you'll notice that I was using a lot of force to do it. On a lot of other DIYs, line to line is extremely easy. The reason for this is because of the structure. When you're doing larger corner cuts, what tends to happen is that the edge pieces are latching onto the center pieces, which is causing it to sort of flex before it can actually cut a corner. On other DIYs, that doesn't happen. Of course, because of that, you also get more pops. So it is sort of a paradox, and the anti-edge popping also does slow down the speed because of the latching. And just like older DIYs, there is no reverse corner cut, but that's fine because you don't really need it. The turning is very clicky. I almost want to say bubbly, but that doesn't seem right. I would say it's clicky. When I first got it, in the first impressions, you heard this like intensely deep and crunchy sound. I'm not going to lie to you guys, it was just a terrible feel. I did not enjoy that at all, but 300 solves later, I am in love with the feel of it. You can't actually feel the clicks, but you can definitely hear them, and it helps in turning as well. You don't overshoot or undershoot. It's very, very accurate turning. So that's definitely good. Lastly, the centerpieces and the tensions are really, really difficult to set. I did show you a centerpiece when we were in macro, but that doesn't really do it justice because I didn't actually talk about how poor this cube is when it comes to tensioning. There are little ridges on the middle, which you saw in the macro, and what you actually have to do is you have to get one of those precision flathead screwdrivers and actually just pry it out. It's basically a solid piece of plastic that's stuck into a hole, and that's why it's really hard to get out. I've only been successful in getting out 4 of these. I couldn't get out the white one or the yellow one, so I've only set tensions on 4 sides. That's why I can't really cut corners on the white side. Yellow actually came out okay, but yeah, the white side is definitely terrible, which is why I only soft cross on white, because I don't use this face nearly as much as I do yellow and all the others. These centers are quite troublesome. However, that shouldn't dissuade you from buying this cube, because that's actually a very minor problem. The other thing that I noticed on the center cap was I did say that there was this white watermark thing, which you saw in the macro video as well. That isn't actually a watermark, obviously. I just couldn't think of what it was at the time of the unboxing. But what this actually is it's an imprinted logo on the center cap, and there's one on here as well. I don't know if this makes a competition illegal, but it's certainly something easy to fix. So not a big deal. Here I'll do a quick size comparison. It is the same size as a GuHong, and here I have a Maru, which would be the standard Rubik's brand size. It is a little bit bigger, but it's not even noticeable. I never actually thought the GuHong was that large, and so I couldn't really tell that this was larger than average either. The weight of it, it's actually lighter than the GuHong, and holding the GuHong the first time, I thought it was extremely light. This is lighter, so if you like light cubes, here you go. So finally, this cube, do I recommend it? Yes and no. It really depends on who you are. I would say that if you're a really fast solver and you're trying to get sub 15, GuHong, F2, Alpha 5, stuff like that, that's going to be what you want, not an Alpha 3F. This cube will easily get you sub 20, but it's not very good for advanced or intermediate cubers. A lot of people argue that it's better for beginner speed solvers to jump directly to a cube like a GuHong. In my opinion, I disagree with that, because I think jumping from something like a store-bought directly to a GuHong is far too extreme. Even for me, I got the GuHong coming from a Maru, which is a very, very fast cube, and I still thought that this was too fast and too smooth. I couldn't tell when I actually turned an entire face. I actually had to look, which really damaged my times. So with something like this, you don't know when a face is actually turned, and that's really annoying. For beginners, this is a really good cube. If you're getting more serious about speed solving and you're coming from a store-bought, then this cube is really, really excellent, because the turning is just so accurate, and the finger tricks on this can be done easily. You should never do finger tricks on a cube that's really stiff, and so if you do come from a store-bought, this is really the cube for you. No pun intended. The turning is precise, it's easy to turn, and there's a clicky feel about it, which a lot of people enjoy. If you are an advanced speed solver, maybe you do want to check this cube out. I know for me, this cube actually did help my times a little bit. Not by like entire seconds or anything, but just enough that I could tell that there was a difference. And it's because the corner cutting isn't as good. That actually had to force me to be a better turner. I always considered myself to be fairly accurate when turning, but after solving this, my turning has improved dramatically. And going back to the GuHong, first of all, I don't need all that extreme corner cutting, but two, it just makes solving bigger cubes easier as well, because as you know, big cubes aren't as good at corner cutting, and now I don't really need it. So this cube definitely helped out in that manner. And finally, if you're just a collector, you should get this cube, because it is one of the first to have an anti-popping mechanism, and definitely one of the most noticeable ones, which actually work. Not a single pop, not even close, and the tensions are average. It's not like they're super tight or anything, but they're definitely not loose either. I never really enjoyed loose cubes. So this is sort of my review on the Alpha 3F. If you have any questions, please leave me a comment down below, because I'm sure I forgot something, just because there is so much to a cube that I can't possibly cover all of it. So definitely leave me a question below if you want to know more about this cube. And you can get this cube at speedcubeshop.com. The link will be in the description. Check it out. I'm going to finish off with a couple solves. I really hope you guys enjoyed this review. Until next time, toodles.